Standing in our marble bathroom that Tuesday evening, I held the bottle of neon green hair dye in my trembling hands. My husband Marcus thought he was untouchable. For months, I had watched him come home late, smelling of cheap perfume and lies. His excuses grew more elaborate each week, his arrogance more unbearable. Tonight was different. I had finally seen the text messages on his phone while he showered. "Can't wait to see you tomorrow, gorgeous. The hotel room is booked." The woman's name was Jessica. She worked in his marketing department. Young, blonde, everything I apparently wasn't anymore, according to the cruel messages I had discovered between them. My hands shook as I unscrewed the cap of his expensive Italian shampoo. 20 years of marriage, and this was what our love had become. A mockery. The green dye poured smoothly into the amber bottle. I swirled it gently, watching the colors blend into something that looked almost normal in the bathroom lighting. Marcus emerged from his shower, towel wrapped around his waist, completely oblivious to my presence. He kissed my forehead absently, already mentally preparing for tomorrow's business meeting. "Big day tomorrow," he said, adjusting his wedding ring that he still wore like a costume prop. "The promotion interview with the board. Everything has to be perfect." Perfect. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. He had been planning this promotion for months, networking with executives, preparing presentations, practicing his answers in the mirror. This job meant everything to him. Senior Vice President of Global Marketing. Corner office. 6-figure salary increase. The respect he craved from his colleagues and competitors. I smiled sweetly and wished him luck. Inside, my heart was breaking and healing simultaneously. Tomorrow would change everything, though he didn't know it yet. That night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, Jessica's face, the hotel receipts I had found hidden in, and his briefcase. Morning came with its usual routine. Marcus woke at exactly 6:30, kissed my cheek mechanically, and headed straight for his morning shower before his big interview. I lay in bed, listening to the water running, knowing that in a few minutes, my carefully planned revenge would begin to take its colorful effect. The shower stopped. I held my breath, waiting for the inevitable discovery. But Marcus was always rushed in the mornings, never looking too carefully at anything. He emerged 15 minutes later, hair still damp, reaching for his expensive suit, the one he had bought specifically for this interview. Dark navy, perfectly tailored. From my position on the bed, I could see his reflection in the bathroom mirror. His hair looked slightly different in the dim morning light, but nothing obvious. "Wish me luck, honey," he called out, straightening his tie with the confidence of a man who believed the world owed him everything he desired. I mumbled something supportive from under the covers, fighting the urge to laugh hysterically. Luck had nothing to do with what was about to happen to him. The front door slammed shut. His BMW roared to life in our driveway. I finally allowed myself to breathe, wondering how long it would take for him to notice. At 9:15, my phone rang. Marcus's name flashed on the screen, but I was in no hurry to answer. Let him stew in whatever panic he was experiencing. The ringing stopped, then started again immediately. Then again. By the fourth call, I decided to pick up and enjoy the show that was about to unfold before me. "What did you do to me?" His voice was high-pitched, panicked, completely stripped of the arrogance I had grown to despise over the past few months. "I don't know what you're talking about, Marcus," I replied sweetly, examining my nails with newfound interest. "How did your big interview go, darling?" "My hair is green, bright, neon green. I look like a circus freak." He was shouting now, probably standing in some corporate bathroom, staring at his reflection in horror. I couldn't help myself. Laughter bubbled up from somewhere deep in my chest, the first genuine laughter I had felt in months. "Green? That's very unusual, honey. Don't play innocent with me. This was you." The interview panel couldn't stop staring. They were trying not to laugh. I could see them whispering to each other. The mental image was delicious. Marcus, in his perfect navy suit, walking into that boardroom with bright green hair, completely oblivious until he saw their shocked faces. "One of them actually asked if it was some kind of new marketing strategy," he continued, his voice cracking with humiliation. "They thought I was making a statement." I could picture it perfectly. The distinguished board members, trying to maintain their professionalism while staring at this man who looked like he had escaped from a comic book. "What did you tell them?" "How?" I asked, genuinely curious about how he had attempted to explain his dramatic new look to the most important people in his career. I told them I had no idea what happened, that someone must have tampered with my shampoo. They looked at me like I was completely insane. The desperation in his voice was music to my ears. For months, he had made me feel small, worthless, invisible. Now he knew exactly how humiliation felt. "Did you consider that maybe you just grabbed the wrong bottle this morning?" I suggested innocently. "You know how rushed you get before important meetings, sweetheart. There is no wrong bottle. Someone deliberately did this to me, and I know it was you." His accusations flew through the phone like arrows that no longer had power to wound me. "Before I continue, I'd love to know where you're reading from and what time at Island. Let me know in the comments. Why would I do such a thing, Marcus? We're married. I want you to succeed. Your success is my success, remember?" The lies flowed as smoothly as his had for months. "The whole office is laughing at me. People are taking pictures. Someone posted it on the company social media thinking it was some kind of publicity stunt. Social media. I hadn't considered that delicious bonus. His humiliation would now be preserved forever, shared and reshared across the corporate world he desperately wanted to conquer. I had to leave the building," he continued, his voice dropping to a defeated whisper. "I couldn't stay. I couldn't face anyone. 20 years with this company. Gone. 20 years. The same amount of time we had been married. The same amount of time I had supported his career while he systematically destroyed our relationship. Maybe you can fix it," I suggested helpfully. "There are salons that specialize in color correction, though it might take several appointments to get that green out completely." "Several appointments? I can't go back to work looking like this." "The promotion is gone! Everything I worked for is gone!" His voice broke completely, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for him. But then I remembered Jessica, the hotel receipts, the lies, the way he had kissed my forehead last night while planning to betray me again this morning. "I'm sure they'll understand," I said softly. "These things happen. Maybe you can explain that it was a prank. People love a good story about office pranks." "A prank? Who would believe that? And even if they did, it makes me look weak. Like someone who can't even control what happens in his own bathroom." Control. There was that word again. The thing he thought he had over me, over our marriage, over his carefully constructed life of lies and deception. "Where are you now?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I cared about the answer. The damage was done, the humiliation complete. Justice, in its own colorful way, had been served, sitting in my car in the parking lot like some kind of criminal. I can't go home looking like this. I can't face the neighbors, the mailman, anyone. The image of him hiding in his BMW, afraid to be seen, filled me with a satisfaction I hadn't expected. This was better than any argument, any confrontation. "You could wear a hat," I suggested, still maintaining my helpful wife persona. "Or maybe call in sick for the rest of the week while you figure out how to fix it." "Call in sick? After what just happened? They'll know exactly why I'm not coming in. This will be the story they tell at company parties for years. Years. He was right about that. This would follow him through his entire career. Every time someone looked at him, they would remember the day he showed up to the most important interview of his life with neon green hair. "I'm coming home," he announced suddenly, "and we're going to talk about this, really talk. I know you did this and I want to know why." Why? As if my reasons weren't written in every late night, every lie, every hotel receipt, every text message to Jessica that I had found on his phone. "Of course, honey. We should definitely talk. I'll put some coffee on. Maybe we can figure out how this terrible accident happened to you this morning." The word accident hung in the air between us like a challenge. We both knew there had been nothing accidental about his green hair or the timing of it all. 30 minutes later, I heard his car in the driveway. He was moving slowly, probably checking to make sure no neighbors were outside to witness his colorful transformation. The front door opened carefully. Marcus crept into our house like a burglar, his head covered by a baseball cap pulled down as far as it would go. When he finally removed the hat, I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing out loud. The dye had worked even better than I had hoped. His normally perfectly styled brown hair was now a brilliant shade of neon green. Not just tinted green, but electric, almost glowing green that seemed to pulse under our kitchen lights. "Look at me," he said quietly, his voice stripped of all its usual confidence. "Just look at what you've done to me." 20 years of building my reputation, gone. I looked. And for the first time in months, I felt something other than anger or sadness. I felt powerful. I felt like I had finally taken control of my own story. It's very bold, I said, tilting my head as if studying an abstract painting. Definitely makes a statement, though I'm not sure what that statement is exactly. The statement is that my wife has lost her mind. He threw his hat onto the kitchen table with enough force to knock over the salt shaker. This is insane. Insane. Perhaps he was right. But if insanity meant finally standing up for myself after months of being treated like furniture, then I was happy to be completely, utterly insane. I think we need to discuss what's really happening here, Marcus, I said, my voice steadier than it had been in months. And it's not your hair color. His face changed. The bluster faded, replaced by something that looked almost like fear. He knew. Somewhere in his guilty conscience, he knew exactly why this had happened. I don't know what you think you know, he began, but his voice lacked conviction. The green hair had somehow stripped away his ability to lie convincingly. I know about Jessica, I said simply. 3 words that changed everything between us. 3 words that made his colorful humiliation seem like just the opening act. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Marcus sat down heavily in his chair, his ridiculous green hair catching the morning sunlight streaming through our kitchen window. How long have you known? He asked finally, not even bothering to deny it. The fight had gone out of him completely, leaving only a man with green hair and a guilty conscience. Long enough, I replied. Long enough to plan this little surprise for your big interview. Long enough to decide that 20 years of marriage deserves better than lies and hotel receipts. He put his head in his hands, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for him again. Almost. But then I remembered all the nights I had waited for him to come home, all the excuses I had believed. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. He mumbled through his fingers. It was just supposed to be temporary. Until I figured out what I wanted. What he wanted. As if our marriage, our life together, was something he could put on hold while he explored other options with women half his age. And what did you figure out, Marcus? I asked. That you wanted your cake and to eat it too? That you wanted me at home playing the perfect wife while you played house with Jessica? It's not like that, he protested weakly, but we both knew it was exactly like that. Exactly that simple and that devastating. Then what is it like? I challenged him. Explain to me how having an affair while planning for a promotion is different from what I think at Island. He couldn't. There was no explanation that would make sense, no justification that would heal the wounds he had inflicted with his selfishness and arrogance. The promotion was supposed to change everything, he said finally. More money, more respect. I thought maybe then I could figure out what I really wanted from life. And now? I asked, gesturing toward his ridiculous hair. Now that your promotion is gone, what do you want from life? He looked up at me, and for the first time in months, I saw something real in his eyes. Not the calculating businessman, not the unfaithful husband, but the man I had once loved. I don't know, he admitted. I don't know anything anymore. I thought I had everything under control, and now I'm sitting here with green hair and no job prospects. Control. There was that word again. The illusion that had driven him to believe he could manage a career, a marriage, and an affair without consequences catching up to him. Maybe that's your problem, Marcus, I said gently, thinking you could control everything and everyone, including me. He nodded slowly, his green hair shifting in the light. I never meant for any of this to happen. The affair, the lies, the way I've been treating you. But it did happen, I reminded him. And now we both have to figure out what comes next. What do you want to happen next? He asked, and for once he seemed genuinely interested in my answer rather than just waiting for his turn to speak. I had been thinking about this question for weeks, long before I had poured the green dye into his shampoo. What did I want from this wreckage of our marriage? I want honesty, I said finally. Complete honesty. No more lies, no more Jessica, no more pretending that our marriage is something it's not. And if I can't give you that, he asked quietly, then we'll both know where we stand, I replied. And you can keep the green hair as a reminder of what happens when you underestimate the quiet ones. He almost smiled at that. a sad, rueful expression that made him look younger despite his ridiculous hair color. I definitely underestimated you, didn't I? You underestimated a lot of things, Marcus. You thought you were untouchable, that your actions wouldn't have consequences, that I would just accept whatever scraps of attention you threw my way. I was wrong, he admitted. About all of it. Yes, you were. And now your hair is green, your promotion is gone, and your wife knows about your affair. How does it feel to have your perfect life fall apart in one morning? Terrifying, he answered honestly, but also almost relieving. I've been carrying this guilt around for months. At least now it's out in the open. The guilt. I had wondered if he felt any, or if he was so focused on his own desires that he had forgotten he was married to a real person with real feelings. The green will fade eventually, I told him. But the damage to your career, to our marriage, to everything you thought you had control over, that might take longer to fix. If it can be fixed at all, he said quietly, that depends on what you're willing to do to fix it. And whether I'm willing to let you try. We sat in silence for a long time, looking at each other across our kitchen table. The same table where we had eaten breakfast together for 20 years, where we had planned our future, where we had slowly grown apart. I'll do anything, he said finally. I'll end things with Jessica. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit my job and start over somewhere else if I have to. And the green hair? I asked, unable to resist one final moment of satisfaction. I'll keep it until you tell me I can dye it back, he said, and this time he did smile, a real smile that reminded me of why I had fallen in love with him in the first place. That might take a while, I warned him. I'm still pretty angry about the whole affair thing. I understand, he nodded. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of it. For Jessica, for the lies, for making you feel like you had to resort to sabotaging my shampoo to get my attention. You're sorry you got caught, I corrected him. If your interview had gone well this morning, you'd probably be celebrating with Jessica right now, planning your next secret meeting. You're right, he admitted. I am sorry I got caught, but I'm also sorry I gave you a reason to catch me in the first place. It wasn't enough, not yet, but it was a start. And as I looked at my husband sitting across from me with his ridiculous green hair and his shattered arrogance, I realized that maybe, just maybe, this could be the beginning of something honest between us. The office called you screaming, didn't they? I asked suddenly, remembering the title of my own revenge story. They didn't have to call, Marcus replied. I was already screaming internally when I saw myself in the bathroom mirror at work. And now? Now I'm sitting in my kitchen with my wife trying to figure out if there's any way to salvage 20 years of marriage from the wreckage of my own stupidity, while sporting the most ridiculous hair color known to humanity, I added. While sporting the most ridiculous hair color known to humanity, he agreed, but somehow it feels appropriate. Appropriate? A visible reminder of how badly I screwed up, how much I had to lose and how little I valued it until it was gone. I looked at him sitting there, humbled by his own arrogance, marked by his infidelity as clearly as if he wore a scarlet letter in his hair. Marcus? Yeah? Next time you want to have an affair, maybe consider that your wife might be more creative with revenge than you think. He laughed then, a sound I hadn't heard from him in months. Noted. Definitely noted. Good, I said, getting up to pour myself another cup of coffee. Now, about that complete honesty you promised me.